Welcome back to Jacksonville's Retirement Coach, where we are helping you navigate the road to retirement with confidence. I'm Kacey Biddy, and today we're diving in to some big financial news that could impact your retirement plan, and that is the recently passed One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or the OB-BBA for short, along with the Make American Workers and Families Thrive Again bill. So to help us break it all down today, I'm joined by Adam Wolf, certified financial planner and president of Wolf Retirement Navigation right here in Jacksonville. Adam, it is great to see you. How you doing?
Hey, good, Kacey. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm super excited to chat with you about this new legislation today. So let's just dive right into it. Congress has just passed these two bills, and they're already being talked about as game changers. So for our listeners who might be hearing this news for the first time, Adam, can you give us an overview of what this legislation includes and why it should matter to retirees?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like we've been talking about this for a little while. You know, doing this for as long as I have, it's until the bills actually get signed into law, like it's not worth jumping into it too much and trying to figure it all out. But so they passed, and we'd been talking about it for a while. But a couple of things that I wanted to point out that are going to affect my clients and folks nearing retirement, a couple of things. One is they ran on, we're going to eliminate taxes on Social Security. They're not necessarily going to do that, but what they're doing is they're adding an additional deduction up to $6,000 per person. So a married couple, that's $12,000 to hopefully reduce their overall income to offset the Social Security income. So, here at Wolf Retirement, we not only help people with retirement planning, but we do tax preparation, a lot of tax planning as well. So that's going to be key for a lot of folks because, you're in this higher tax bracket when you're working, you're going to retire, you're in a lower tax bracket. Now that deduction for Social Security is even better. So that's one of the key elements of the bill that passed.
Well, talk to us a little bit more about that for our retirees that are listening in. What kind of tax relief opportunities should they be aware of with these new laws?
Yeah, a couple that may jump out at you, and depending on what state they're in. I mean, most of my clients are here in Florida, Northeast Florida, but a lot of them in Georgia and all over. So they have what's called a SALT limitation, a state and local income taxes. And if you itemize your deductions, you were only limited to $10,000 of total state and local taxes, including, all the different taxes at that level in real estate and that kind of thing. So now it's jumped up to $40,000. So for some people out of state of Florida, it's going to make sense that they're going to be a little bit more of a potential to itemize. Another thing is a charitable contribution, $1,000 per person, $2,000 per couple for married couple. That's for folks who do not itemize. So you get your standard deduction, and then you get another $1,000 to $2,000 on top of that. So those two key elements are, we're going to save a little bit here and a little bit there, but every dollar adds up over time.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you this, Adam. This bill also offers benefits to small businesses and entrepreneurs. And I know many retirees aren't running businesses, but are there ways that these provisions could still affect their financial picture or their planning strategies?
Yeah, I think a lot of the business owners that I work with who are retiring, or the folks who've retired, I mean, there are some key elements in there. It's going to affect me and my business as well. So we're going to have to wade through that at the corporate level. But the key between not only businesses but individuals, it's making the tax cuts permanent. And those tax cuts came in 2018. Almost everybody I work with, taxes went down between 3% and 8%. So those are going to be made permanent. Now, permanent is relative. So every 2 years, we have to worry about DC with the legislative risk because a new group or a new crop will get in there and make changes potentially to whatever law is in place. So at least the next two, preferably the next four, we're going to have the tax cuts made permanent and allowing us to do a lot of planning. Like, now's the time. Taxes are on sale. I can't believe they didn't increase the taxes at all during this whole, process because our country needs additional funds, if you haven't noticed. So you can only cut so many expenses. Taxes are going to have to rise. They're going to have to go up. And we don't want to get stuck with the bill down the road. So anything we do now, whether it's Roth conversions or shifting income into the, now versus the future to pay lower taxes, that's what it's all about. And that's what we do every day at Wolf Retirement.
Absolutely. Incorporating the help of a professional sooner rather than later to help you implement these changes and take advantage of them. Now, shifting gears a bit, Adam, what would you say are the most important changes in this bill that could affect retirees' income, their healthcare costs, or even their investments?
I mean, the biggest thing is the tax cuts remaining in place. So, you get an example of an individual who's paying, let's say their tax bill is $7,000 a year. Without these tax cuts being extended and being made permanent, their income tax bill would go up to $8,000 plus. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, Kacey, but anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 more times a decade, that's another $10,000 to $15,000. Shifting money into Roth IRAs at lower tax rates through the conversion process, so taxes are not only deferred, but they're tax-free in the future, not only to you, but if you're married, you pass it to your spouse tax-free. And if you have kids or your other beneficiaries, they can inherit it tax-free as well. So anything we can do to start to shift money to those accounts now versus later, that's the planning that we need to do.
Every dollar counts, like you said, and it can all really add up. So definitely things retirees want to keep an eye on right now. Now, given all these changes, what steps would you recommend retirees take right now to maximize their potential savings and making sure they are best positioned financially? I know you mentioned Roth conversions, but can you go into that a little bit more for us?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest answer, Kacey, is to call us here at the office. If you're a client listening, we're doing the reviews. We're going to be really hot and heavy on the Roth conversion and running the tax projections for your specific situation, to get that tax bill, what it's going to look like, now. But also if we were to do some planning to where we shift money out of these IRAs, pay the taxes now, which is counterintuitive. Who wants to pay more taxes now? Right. But you're paying them at a very, very low tax rate, shifting it into a tax-free bucket and allowing us to do that. Now, a couple other things that we're looking at is qualified charitable distributions. They're allowing over $100,000 per year. So if you're charitably inclined, what it does is you can send that charitable distribution directly to your, church or charity, as long as it's it's not like your one that you just set up yourself or your brother owns it or anything like that. It has to be a real charity, a real church. And it reduces the income that you would have had to report as you would have had an RMD. So you can reduce that RMD. Now, this has been in place for a while, but because of the new tax rates, it makes it a lot more important now versus then.
Got it. All right. And speaking of Roth conversions, like we mentioned, we've got an episode coming up in a couple weeks on Roth conversions where we're going to take a deeper dive. So if you're listening and you want to know more about that process, make sure you check out that episode as well. Now, before I let you go, looking toward the future, how do you see the OB-BBA fitting into a retiree's long-term financial plan or their retirement plan? Should they be considering any strategic adjustments as this law is taking effect, Adam?
Yeah, the strategic adjustments, number one for most folks, the additional deduction for Social Security, that's huge. And then the extension and made permanent the individual tax rates, because if not, they would have expired and 2026 would have been a very expensive year for a lot of people. Getting in touch with us, looking at your specific situation, rolling the numbers and looking at the projection and saying, does it make sense based on the new tax plan that came out, the bill that came out? Does it make sense? Do we need to do any significant planning to save money down the road? Because think about it, it's not just what you pay this year or next year, it's your total lifetime bill that you pay. Anything we can do to reduce that lifetime bill is the key.
Got it. Absolutely. Adam, thank you so much for breaking this down so clearly for us today. Now, for those listening, if you want more information or personalized guidance on how these new laws could impact your retirement, or if you've just got questions about your retirement plan in general, get in touch like Adam said. You can head over to wolfretirement.com, and from there it has got all the resources that you need to get connected with Adam and the team. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode, and we'll see you back here next time on Jacksonville's Retirement Coach. Investment advisory services offered through Coil Capital LLC, a registered investment advisor. Wolf Retirement Navigation LLC and Coil Capital LLC are not affiliated. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. No investment strategy can guarantee a profit or protect against loss in periods of declining values. Opinions expressed are subject to change without notice and are not intended as investment advice or to predict future performance. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Consult your financial professional before making any investment decision. This information is designed to provide general information on the subjects covered. It is not, however, intended to provide specific legal or tax advice and cannot be used to avoid tax penalties or to promote, market, or recommend any tax plan or arrangement. Please note that Wolf Retirement Navigation LLC and its affiliates do not give legal or tax advice. You are encouraged to consult your tax advisor or attorney. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurer. Any references to protection or benefits or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products or services. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and not offered by Coil Capital LLC. Florida Insurance License Number W016816.